Chapter 1. Get out of bed immediately and refuse to snooze. When the alarm rings between 3 and 5 in the morning, you are standing at the doorway of one of the most powerful decisions of your life. That sound is not just a signal to wake up. It is a test of your discipline, your strength, and your seriousness about creating a better future. In that moment, you have two options. You can hit snooze, roll over, and delay the life you keep saying you want. Or you can get up immediately, put your feet on the floor, and show yourself that you mean business. Success begins in the smallest acts, and few things are smaller yet more important than the choice you make in those quiet, early hours. Why is it so critical to refuse the snooze button? Because snoozing is more than just stealing a few extra minutes of sleep. It is a message you send to yourself. You're saying, "I can wait. I'll try again later. I'll give in to comfort one more time." The problem is that this message doesn't stay in the bedroom. It leaks into the rest of your day. If you give in when it's easy to snooze, you will likely give in when it's easy to avoid work, skip the workout, or postpone that one task you've been putting off. Discipline is built and broken in these small, private decisions. Getting up the moment your alarm rings builds trust with yourself. You keep the promise you made the night before, and nothing is more powerful than learning to trust yourself. Picture this. The alarm rings at 3:45 a.m. You reach over and silence it, but instead of lying back down, you sit up. The room is still dark. It feels different than any other time of day. The world outside is quiet. No traffic, no distractions, no noise. It's just you and the decision you made. Your mind might whisper, "Go back to bed. Nobody's watching." But remember this, you're always watching. Your own eyes see everything you do, and your own heart records every choice. When you get out of bed immediately, you feel a sense of control. You feel alive. That energy follows you into the rest of your day. The pride of victory in that one small battle gives you momentum to win more. Most people fail not because they don't have dreams, but because they can't win these small battles. They promise themselves, "Tomorrow, I'll wake up early." But when tomorrow comes, the bed feels too warm, the pillow feels too soft, and they decide to snooze. What they don't realize is that every time they snooze, they weaken the muscle of discipline. It's not just about sleeping longer. It's about training the mind to quit before the day has even started. If you want to change your life, you must start by changing these hidden habits. Getting up immediately is like setting the tone for everything that follows. You tell yourself, "I am in charge. I don't delay. I act." Think about how powerful that is. You say you want success. You say you want to be healthier, wealthier, happier. But how do you prove it to yourself? You prove it by getting up when it's hard. Because if you can do the hard thing when no one is watching, then you can certainly do the hard things later when the world is watching. If you win at 3 in the morning, you will win at 3 in the afternoon. If you start the day by refusing excuses, you build the character that refuses excuses in every other part of your life. Now, waking up early is not just about discipline, it is also about opportunity. When you rise between 3 and 5, you gain hours that most people waste. Those hours are yours. They are quiet, they are free from interruptions, and they allow you to focus in a way that is impossible later in the day. Imagine what you could do with 2 or 3 extra hours every single morning. Over a year, that adds up to hundreds of hours. That's time you can use to read, to write, to exercise, to learn a skill, to plan your goals. That's time to build a future that others say is impossible. And it all begins with the courage to throw off the blanket and stand up when your body is begging you to stay down. Some people say, "I can't get up early. I'm not a morning person." But that's not true. It's not about being a morning person. It's about being a disciplined person. You don't need to enjoy the first few minutes. You just need to win them. Nobody enjoys leaving the warmth of the bed at 3:30 in the morning. But the joy comes later, when you realize how much stronger you are than your excuses. The satisfaction comes when you look back at the end of the week and see how much you accomplished because you refused to waste the most valuable hours of your day. Human psychology works like this. Your brain craves comfort. It wants to protect you from anything unpleasant. But comfort is the enemy of progress. Comfort is what keeps you where you are. To grow, you must train your brain to do what is uncomfortable until it becomes normal. Waking up early and refusing the snooze button is the simplest training ground for this. Every morning, you practice telling your brain, "I'm in control, not you." Over time, that builds a mental toughness that carries into everything else. You no longer hesitate when it's time to speak up in a meeting, or make a decision, or push yourself in the gym. You've trained your identity to act instead of delay. Now, I want you to imagine the difference in your day. Two people set their alarms for 4:30. The first one snoozes 3 times, gets up tired and rushed, and begins the day already behind. Their mind is clouded, their energy is low, and their attitude is weak. The second one sits up immediately, splashes water on their face, takes a deep breath, and walks into the day with a clear mind and calm confidence. Which person do you want to be? The difference is not talent. It's not intelligence. It's the decision to get up and refuse to snooze. One choice creates momentum, the other creates regret. And let's talk about regret. Because nothing weighs heavier than the feeling that you wasted your time. When you snooze, you might think you're gaining rest, but what you're really gaining is regret. You know you could have been up building your future. You know you could have used that time to work on yourself. That regret follows you. It eats away at your confidence. On the other hand, when you rise immediately, you feel proud. You feel strong. You start the day already ahead of most of the world. That pride builds confidence. That confidence pushes you to do more. And doing more builds results. This is how change begins, not in big leaps, but in small victories, one morning at a time. Some will argue, "I can just work at night instead." That's fine if it works for you, but most nights are filled with distractions. People call you, notifications pop up, responsibilities demand your attention. Early morning hours are pure. Nobody expects anything from you. The world is asleep. That's why it's the best time to take control. If you snooze, you miss this gift. If you rise, you own it. That's why I say, the morning is not just a time of day, it's a test of your seriousness. If you pass the test, you earn the reward of a day lived on your terms. Here's the truth. Life will not change by accident. It changes when you decide to take control. Getting up immediately may feel like a small act, but it's a declaration. It says, "I am serious about my goals. I will not waste my time. I will not give in to weakness." And when you say this to yourself every morning, through action, not words, you build a reputation with yourself. You become someone who follows through, someone who acts, someone who can be trusted to do what they said they would do. Think about the areas of your life you want to improve. Your health, your finances, your relationships, your confidence. All of them require discipline, and discipline begins in the smallest choices. If you cannot say no to the snooze button, how will you say no to temptation later in the day? If you cannot get out of bed when you said you would, how will you keep the bigger promises you've made to yourself? Success is not built on the big stages. It's built in these hidden moments, when nobody sees you, but you see you. So, when that alarm rings between 3 and 5, remember who you are. Remember what you want. Remember that comfort will not give it to you. Discipline will. And discipline begins with this. Get out of bed immediately and refuse to snooze. Put your feet on the floor. Stand up. Breathe in the cool air of a new day. Remind yourself that you are in charge. And then move into your day with pride and confidence, knowing that you've already won the first battle. Because when you start strong, you keep strong. And when you win the morning, you give yourself the best chance to win your life. Chapter 2. Look in the mirror and tell yourself you can. When you wake between 3 and 5 in the morning and stand in front of the mirror, you are facing the most important person in your life. No teacher, no mentor, no friend, no partner, and no critic has more influence on your destiny than the person looking back at you. This is the moment where you shape the story you live by. The words you speak to yourself at this hour are seeds you plant in your mind. Those seeds grow into confidence, courage, and belief, or into doubt, fear, and hesitation. The choice is yours, and it begins with something as simple yet powerful as looking into your own eyes and telling yourself, "You can." People underestimate how much their own words matter. They speak carelessly to themselves in ways they would never speak to someone they love. They say things like, "I'm not good enough," or "I'll probably fail again." Those words sink in. They create a quiet agreement in the mind, a hidden permission to stay average. But when you stand in front of the mirror and choose to say the opposite, you are breaking that cycle. You are reprogramming your mind. You are telling yourself, "I can push through. I can change. I can grow." This isn't about lying or pretending. It's about reminding yourself that your potential is greater than your excuses. The early hours are the perfect time for this because your mind is quiet. The world is silent. Nobody is demanding your attention. You are left with nothing but your thoughts and your reflection. In that stillness, your words echo louder. If you stand in the mirror and whisper defeat, that becomes your truth. But if you stand there and speak strength, you set a different tone for the entire day. Psychology tells us that the first words we hear and repeat in the morning have a lasting impact on our emotional state. So when you look in the mirror and affirm your ability, you are literally programming your mind to approach the day with power. This practice is not about ego. It is about truth. Most people spend more time listening to their doubts than affirming their strengths. They allow the memory of past mistakes to define their future. But you are not the same person you were yesterday. You've lived another day, learned another lesson, and built another piece of wisdom. When you look in the mirror at 4 a.m. and say, "You can," you are not ignoring your past. You are rising above it. You are refusing to let yesterday decide today. You are declaring that growth is possible, and that today you will step closer to the person you want to become. The mirror does something powerful. It strips away excuses. It shows you exactly who you are in this moment. There's no filter, no mask, no pretending, just you. That honesty can feel uncomfortable because it forces you to admit the truth about your habits, your discipline, and your choices. But that honesty is where change begins. When you say, "I can," you are not denying that there is work to do. You are simply affirming that you are capable of doing it. You are giving yourself the permission to try, to act, to move forward without waiting for perfect conditions. Think of how often people wait for encouragement from others. They hope someone else will believe in them, recognize them, or validate them. But what if that encouragement never comes? What if people doubt you, or worse, ignore you? That's why self-belief is essential. When you look in the mirror and say, "You can," you are giving yourself the support that the world may not give you. You are learning to be your own ally instead of your own enemy. You are taking responsibility for your mindset instead of waiting for someone else to hand it to you. Now, understand that saying "I can" is not just a phrase, it's a commitment. When you tell yourself this, you are also making a silent contract. You're saying, "I can, therefore I will try. I can, therefore I will take the next step. I can, therefore I will not back down when it gets hard." Empty words don't carry power, but words tied to intention become the fuel of transformation. That's why when you stand in the mirror, don't just say it, mean it. Feel it in your chest. Let it move from your lips into your heart. Let it become the instruction that guides your actions for the rest of the day. The science of human behavior confirms this. Your subconscious mind is influenced by repetition and emotion. The more often you affirm a thought with feeling, the deeper it sinks into your identity. If every morning you look into your reflection and say, "You can," with conviction, your brain begins to accept it as truth. Over time, that truth shapes your decisions. You start applying for opportunities you once thought were out of reach. You start finishing tasks you used to quit halfway. You start speaking up where you once stayed silent, because deep down, you've trained yourself to believe you can. Imagine beginning your day like this. The alarm rings at 4:15. You fight off the urge to snooze. You walk into the bathroom, switch on the light, and stare into the mirror. You see tired eyes, maybe messy hair, but you also see potential. You lean closer, and with a firm voice you say, You can handle this. You can stay disciplined. You can become the person you want to be. At first, it might feel strange. You may even feel silly talking to yourself, but in time, it becomes natural. It becomes your ritual, a way of commanding your own spirit before the world has a chance to weaken it. The emotional power of this practice is that it reminds you that you are not powerless. No matter what challenges you are facing, financial stress, relationship struggles, self-doubt, or exhaustion, you still have the ability to respond with strength. When you say, "I can," you awaken that ability. You remind yourself that you are not a victim of circumstances. You are an active player in your life. That sense of control is what separates those who drift from those who achieve. And every day you repeat it, you strengthen that control. Think about the alternative. Imagine beginning your day without this affirmation. You might look in the mirror and notice every flaw. You might hear the voice of doubt say, "You're not enough. You'll fail again. Why try?" If you accept those words, they become your reality. They weigh you down before you've even begun. You carry that heaviness into your work, into your interactions, and into your decisions. And slowly, you begin to live the story that doubt wrote for you. That's why this practice matters. It's not just positive thinking, it's survival for your spirit. It's refusing to let negativity write the first chapter of your day. When you speak to yourself with belief, you are teaching your mind to cooperate with your goals instead of fighting them. You are aligning your thoughts with your actions. That alignment creates power, because when you believe you can, you are more likely to try. And when you try, you create progress. And progress fuels more belief. It's a cycle that builds stronger every day, but it starts with that one moment in front of the mirror. It's also important to be specific sometimes. Saying, "I can," is powerful, but attaching it to what you're working on makes it even stronger. For example, say, "I can stay consistent with my health. I can finish the project I started. I can push through this challenge without quitting." This gives your mind direction. It turns a general belief into a specific commitment, and when you repeat it daily, your brain begins to search for proof. It begins to notice when you succeed, reinforcing the belief even more. Over weeks and months, this ritual reshapes how you see yourself. You no longer see only the mistakes, the weaknesses, or the failures. You begin to see the fighter, the learner, the achiever. You begin to carry yourself with more confidence, not arrogance but quiet strength. Others notice it. They feel the energy in the way you speak and act. And it all began with a simple phrase spoken in the mirror when the rest of the world was asleep. This is how you create a new identity, not by waiting for big moments, but by stacking small victories. Every morning you say, "I can," and then act on it. You are proving to yourself that you are capable. That proof builds identity, and identity shapes destiny. The strongest people you admire didn't become that way overnight. They built it, word by word, action by action, day after day. And you can do the same, starting with your reflection tomorrow morning. So when the hour comes, don't look away. Stand in front of the mirror. Face yourself honestly. And with all the strength you have, tell yourself, "You can." Say it until you believe it. Say it until it moves you. And then walk into the day ready to prove it with action. Because once you believe you can, there is nothing in your way except the work it takes to make it real. And that is a challenge you are more than capable of meeting. Chapter 3. Write down one fear and decide to face it. Fear is one of the greatest barriers that stops people from reaching their potential. It sits quietly in the background, influencing decisions, limiting action, and shaping a life that is smaller than it could be. Most people avoid acknowledging it. They distract themselves, hide it behind excuses, or convince themselves it's not there. But the truth is that fear loses its power the moment you face it honestly. One of the most effective steps you can take in the early hours of the morning is to write down one fear that has been holding you back and then make the decision to face it. That act alone creates a shift in how you approach your life because you are no longer running from fear, you are choosing to confront it. The reason writing it down matters is because what lives in your head grows in size. When you leave fear in your mind, it feels overwhelming, undefined, and endless. It takes on shapes bigger than reality. But when you put it on paper, you reduce it to words. Suddenly it is no longer a shadow stretching across your imagination. It is a simple sentence you can see with your own eyes. That clarity is the first step to control. It allows you to define exactly what you are up against instead of fighting an invisible enemy. The act of writing is a signal to yourself that you are ready to stop avoiding and start addressing. Every person carries fears unique to them. Some fear failure, some fear rejection, some fear judgment. Others fear responsibility, change, or even success itself. Whatever the fear, it has one common effect. It keeps you still when you need to move. You might have dreams, plans, or opportunities, but fear whispers reasons why you shouldn't try. When you write it down, you interrupt that whisper. You bring the fear out into the open where you can examine it. You take away its ability to manipulate you in silence, and in that moment, you gain back some of your strength. The next critical step is not just writing it down, but deciding to face it. Fear thrives on delay. The longer you avoid it, the larger it grows. Deciding to face it is like drawing a line in the sand and saying, "This stops here." You don't need to eliminate fear entirely, you need to prove to yourself that it won't control you. Facing it doesn't mean jumping recklessly into danger, it means choosing an action that directly challenges it, no matter how small. That choice builds confidence, and confidence is the antidote to fear. Think about how fear shows up in daily life. A person might fear public speaking, so they stay silent when opportunities come to share their ideas. Another might fear rejection, so they avoid asking for what they want in relationships or work. Someone else might fear failure, so they never start the project they've been thinking about for years. Each of these fears keeps life smaller than it should be. But imagine if each of these people woke up early, wrote down their specific fear, and then made a plan to take one small step toward confronting it. Over time, those steps would completely change their lives. Fear would no longer define their choices. They would define their choices in spite of fear. The morning is a powerful time to do this exercise because your mind is clear. You have not yet been pulled into distractions, conversations, or tasks. It's just you, the paper, and your honest. If you take a pen and write, "I fear speaking up in front of people," you now have something you can act on. The next line could be, "Today I will speak up once, even if my voice shakes." That small decision is more powerful than weeks of avoiding the issue. By deciding early in the day, you give yourself direction. You carry that commitment with you instead of leaving it behind for later. Facing fear doesn't mean you eliminate the feeling overnight. It means you act even with the feeling present. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action in the presence of fear. When you decide to face what you wrote down, you teach your mind that you can survive discomfort. The more you do this, the more resilient you become. Fear stops being a wall and starts being a doorway you can walk through. Each time you walk through, the doorway feels wider, and your confidence grows stronger. Many people wait for confidence to come before they act. They tell themselves, "When I feel ready, I'll face it," but readiness never arrives. Confidence is built after action, not before it. Writing down the fear and deciding to face it flips this mindset. You no longer wait for confidence. You act first, and confidence follows. This is the psychology of growth. You stretch yourself slightly beyond comfort, survive the experience, and then realize you are stronger than you thought. That realization is repeated each time until fear loses its hold. Another powerful part of this practice is accountability to yourself. When you write down the fear, you cannot pretend it doesn't exist. It stares back at you in ink. You can't argue with it or excuse it away. It's there. When you then add the decision to face it, you have made a commitment. That commitment is not to anyone else, but to yourself. And when you follow through, you build trust with yourself. That trust is priceless. Many people struggle not because they don't know what to do, but because they don't trust themselves to do it. Each time you keep the promise to face your fear, you repair that trust. Imagine this as a daily practice. Each morning, you write down one fear, not 100, just one. It might be small, It might be large. Then you decide on one action to face it that day. Over the weeks, you would have faced dozens of fears. They would no longer pile up silently in your mind. Instead, they would shrink one by one as you addressed them. Over the months, you would notice yourself doing things you once thought impossible. You would see how much stronger you have become, simply because you chose to stop avoiding. Your life would expand in ways you never thought possible, all because of a daily decision made before the sun even rose. There is also an emotional freedom that comes from this process. Fear is heavy. Carrying it unspoken is like walking with weight on your back all day. By writing it down, you put the weight down for a moment. By facing it, you remove the weight entirely. You begin to breathe easier, think clearer, and move faster. Life feels lighter, not because the challenges disappeared, but because you stopped letting fear magnify them. You stepped forward and proved to yourself that you are capable. In relationships, this practice can transform how you connect with others. Many people hold back from honesty because they fear judgment or rejection. But when you decide to face that fear, you allow yourself to have real conversations. You express your feelings. You ask for what you need. You show up as your true self. That authenticity strengthens connections and earns respect. Fear weakens relationships by keeping you guarded. Facing fear strengthens them by making you real. In your career, this practice pushes you ahead of the average. Most people let fear stop them from asking for opportunities, applying for positions, or sharing their ideas. But if you wake up and write down the fear of being overlooked, and you decide to speak up or apply anyway, you separate yourself from the crowd. Even if the outcome isn't perfect, the act of trying builds your reputation, your experience, and your confidence. Over time, this is what leads to growth, not perfection, but persistence in the face of fear. In your personal goals, fear often shows up as procrastination. You delay starting because you fear failure, or you fear not being good enough. But writing down the fear and deciding to face it removes the excuse. It makes the delay obvious. When you see the fear on paper, you realize the delay is not about time. It's about avoidance. That awareness gives you the push to start, and once you start, the fear shrinks. Action always shrinks fear. This is not an easy practice. It requires honesty, courage, and discipline. But the payoff is enormous. Each morning you take a fear from the shadows, write it down, and face it. You are reclaiming control of your life. You are refusing to be guided by fear, and choosing instead to be guided by purpose. That shift separates those who live with regret from those who live with growth. When you stand at that desk or table between 3 and 5 in the morning, with a pen in your hand, you are not just writing words. You are writing freedom. You are writing strength. You are writing the beginning of a new story for yourself. And when you follow through on the decision to face what you wrote, you are living that story. That's how transformation happens. One fear at a time. One decision at a time. One morning at a time. So tomorrow, don't hide from it. Take out the pen. Write down the fear that has been holding you back. Don't soften it. Don't disguise it. Put it in black and white. Then decide. Decide that today, no matter how uncomfortable, you will face it in some way. It may be a small step, but it is a step forward, and forward is what changes your life. Over time, this daily act will turn you into someone fear cannot control. You will become someone who moves through fear instead of avoiding it, and that kind of person is unstoppable. Chapter 4. Plan how to use today without wasting a minute. Every single day is a gift of 24 hours. And what separates those who move forward from those who remain stuck is how that time is used. Between 3 and 5 in the morning, when distractions are at their lowest, you hold the chance to decide exactly how the hours ahead will be spent. If you don't plan, time will slip away without you even noticing. You will find yourself busy but not productive, active but not effective, tired but not fulfilled. That's why taking time in the early morning to plan how to use today without wasting a minute can change the entire direction of your life. When you wake up, your mind is clearer than it will be later in the day. Before the phone starts ringing, before messages demand replies, before responsibilities crowd in, you have a window of control. This is when you should decide what matters most and how to structure your hours. A written plan is like a contract you sign with yourself. It keeps you focused on what is important, instead of letting the day be stolen by whatever is urgent or distracting. Without a plan, you will drift. With a plan, you move with intention. Those who move with intention get further, faster. The act of planning forces you to face choices. You can't do everything in a single day, and if you try, you will end up doing nothing with excellence. Writing down your priorities means admitting that some things must wait. That clarity is liberating. Instead of carrying the weight of 100 unmade decisions, you carry the certainty of a few clear ones. For example, if your top priority is improving your health, you plan your workout before other tasks. If your career growth matters most today, you schedule deep work on that project before checking your emails. This is how progress is made, by aligning time with priorities. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that time will take care of itself. They wake up late, react to problems, and spend the day putting out fires. At the end, they wonder why nothing meaningful was accomplished. That happens because they surrendered control. Time is neutral. It doesn't care if you use it wisely or waste it foolishly. But life rewards those who discipline their minutes. Planning your day before it begins is the discipline that ensures you are steering, not drifting. The best time to plan is in those quiet early hours. Sit down with a notebook, not your phone. Write the date at the top. Ask yourself, what are the 3 most important things I must accomplish today? Be honest. Don't choose easy tasks just to feel busy. Choose the tasks that will actually move you forward in life, even if they are uncomfortable. Once you have those 3, build the rest of your day around them. These are your anchors. No matter what distractions come, these must be completed. That level of focus turns an ordinary day into a productive one. Planning also requires detail. Don't just write work on project. Write down what part of the project you will complete. Don't just write exercise. Decide whether it's a run, lifting weights, or stretching, and decide when it will happen. The more precise you are, the easier it is to follow through. Vague plans invite procrastination, while specific plans invite action. Human psychology responds to clarity. When you know exactly what to do and when to do it, resistance weakens. You no longer waste energy deciding throughout the day. You simply act. Now, planning isn't only about work. A well-lived day includes balance. Include time for rest, connection, learning, and reflection. If you ignore these, your productivity will eventually collapse. Schedule short breaks. Plan a conversation with someone you value. Make space to read or learn something new. At the end of the day, schedule 10 minutes to reflect on what worked and what didn't. This habit sharpens your future planning and ensures growth. A day planned without balance may bring results in one area, but emptiness in others. A day planned with balance strengthens every area of life. You may wonder why planning is emphasized so strongly. The reason is simple. Wasted time compounds into wasted years. Every day you drift is a day you can never get back. But every day you plan and follow through is a day that builds into something great. Think of what happens if you save just 10 minutes per hour by eliminating distractions through planning. That's 4 hours saved in a single day. Over a month, that's more than 100 hours. Over a year, that's over 1,000 hours you can use to build skills, relationships, health, or wealth. That is the hidden power of refusing to waste a minute. Planning also reduces stress. When you know exactly what you need to do, the mind anxiety comes from uncertainty, from carrying too many vague responsibilities in your head. Writing down a plan unloads that burden. It tells your mind, I've decided, I know what comes next. You no longer waste energy worrying about forgetting something or doubting what to do. You can focus fully on the task in front of you, confident that the rest has been scheduled. That focus is what produces quality. When you are fully present with each task, you do it better and faster. Of course, no plan survives perfectly. Life will bring interruptions. Emergencies will happen. That's why planning should include flexibility. But flexibility is not the same as chaos. Flexibility means you adjust when necessary, without losing sight of the priorities you set. If a task must move, it moves, but it doesn't disappear. Planning ensures that even in the storm of a busy day, you remain anchored to what matters. Without that anchor, interruptions sweep you away completely. Another benefit of planning your day is accountability. When you write down your plan, you create a record. At the end of the day, you can look back and measure how well you kept your commitment. If you completed your priorities, you end with pride. If you didn't, you end with awareness of where to improve. Both are valuable. Accountability is how you grow stronger. Without a plan, there is nothing to measure, and without measurement, growth is impossible. Consider the difference between two people. One wakes up at the last minute, checks their phone, reacts to messages, and goes through the day responding to whatever shows up. The other wakes early, plans the day in writing and follows through with intention. At the end of the day, the first person feels drained and unfulfilled, wondering where the hours went. The second feels accomplished and in control, even if everything wasn't perfect. Multiply that difference by a month or a year, and you see two entirely different lives, one shaped by reaction, the other shaped by deliberate planning. This habit also builds identity. Each day, you plan and follow through, you become someone who values time. You begin to see yourself as disciplined, reliable, and purposeful. That identity influences future choices. You stop tolerating wasted time, wasted conversations, and wasted opportunities. You seek out efficiency, clarity, and growth. You align your environment with your value. Identity always follows habit, and this habit of planning without wasting a minute shapes a powerful identity. For those who claim they don't have time to plan, remember this: 5 minutes of planning can save hours of wasted effort. The small investment at the start of the day produces massive returns. Successful people in every field share this discipline. Athletes plan their training. Business leaders plan their schedules. Artists plan their practice. Ordinary people who rise above average learn to plan their day. If you want extraordinary results, you cannot afford to leave your hours unguarded. The emotional reward of a planned day is also profound. You experience the satisfaction of progress. You feel the relief of knowing your time was not wasted. You carry the confidence of someone who is moving closer to their goals. That feeling becomes addictive. The more you experience it, the more you crave it, and the more consistent your planning becomes. Soon you will no longer ask, "Should I plan my day?" It will be as natural as breathing, because you've tasted the power it gives. As you continue, you'll notice something else. Planning your day, without wasting a minute, not only changes your productivity, it changes your character. It teaches responsibility. It strengthens discipline. It sharpens focus. These qualities spill into every area of life. You become more dependable in relationships, more effective at work, and more confident in yourself. The simple act of deciding how to use your hours becomes the foundation for a life of strength and purpose. Tomorrow morning, when the world is still, take a pen and paper. Write down exactly how you will use today. Don't let a single hour drift by without direction. Decide where your energy will go. Decide what tasks matter most. Decide when you will rest, when you will work, and when you will grow. Guard your time as if it is treasure, because it is. Refuse to waste a minute. Build your life hour by hour, day by day, with intention. Do this consistently, and you will look back in a few years with pride, knowing you lived fully, not by accident but by design. Chapter 5. Send one message of gratitude to someone who matters. Every morning gives you the chance to strengthen your relationships, and one of the most overlooked ways to do this is by expressing gratitude. Gratitude is more than a polite word. It is an act of recognition. It tells another person that you value them, that their presence matters, and that their effort has not gone unnoticed. Sending one message of gratitude to someone who matters may look small on the surface, but its impact is far-reaching. It lifts the person receiving it, it reminds you of the importance of connection, and it builds a habit of appreciation that makes your life richer and more meaningful. Think of how easy it is to take people for granted. You assume they know how you feel. You assume they already understand their importance, so you remain silent. But silence often creates distance. People may never hear the words they long to hear, and you may never say the words that could have strengthened a bond. That's why making it a daily practice to send one genuine message of gratitude is so powerful. You stop leaving things unsaid. You stop assuming. You start expressing, and in that expression you keep your relationships alive and strong. Gratitude is not about long speeches or dramatic words. It is about sincerity. A short message sent early in the morning that simply says, "I appreciate the way you've supported me," or "I'm grateful you're in my life," can carry more weight than you realize. For the other person, it may come at the exact moment they need encouragement. It might remind them that they are valued. It could even be the difference between them starting their day discouraged or starting it with a renewed sense of purpose. People rarely forget how you made them feel, and gratitude always makes people feel seen. When you send a message of gratitude, you also change yourself. Gratitude shifts your perspective. Instead of focusing on what's missing or what's wrong, you focus on what's present and what's right. That shift makes you more resilient, it makes you more positive, it keeps you from sinking into self-pity or complaining. Every time you think about who deserves your gratitude, you remind yourself that you are not alone, that life has given you connections worth valuing. That mindset builds strength because it roots you in appreciation instead of bitterness. Gratitude also deepens respect. When you acknowledge someone, you show that you're paying attention. You recognize their contribution, whether big or small. This creates trust, and trust builds stronger bonds. In families, gratitude strengthens love. In friendships, gratitude strengthens loyalty. In professional life, gratitude strengthens teamwork. People want to support those who notice and appreciate them. Neglect creates distance, but recognition creates closeness. Sending a message of gratitude in the morning has another benefit. It sets the tone for the day. When you start with appreciation, you carry that attitude into every interaction. You're less likely to be harsh, impatient, or dismissive. You treat people with more kindness. You respond with more patience. You feel lighter because you've reminded yourself that there is good in your life, and that others have been part of it. That one message becomes the seed for a day lived with greater respect and joy. Some people hesitate because they think gratitude will make them look weak. They worry that saying thank you too often will reduce their authority. That belief is false. Gratitude is a sign of strength, not weakness. It shows that you are confident enough to acknowledge others. It shows that you are not threatened by recognizing someone else's contribution. In fact, leaders who express gratitude consistently earn more loyalty and respect than those who never do. Strength is not found in withholding kindness, it is found in giving it generously. When you practice sending one message of gratitude every day, it begins to change your habits of thought. Instead of waiting for special occasions to say something kind, you begin to notice daily opportunities. You start to look for reasons to be thankful. And when you look for reasons, you always find them. You realize how many people have touched your life in ways large and small. That awareness creates humility, and humility is a powerful foundation for growth. This practice also teaches you consistency. Gratitude is not just for holidays or rare moments. It should be part of everyday living. Imagine the difference if every morning for 1 year you sent a message of gratitude. That would be 365 people or moments acknowledged. That is 365 reminders to yourself of how much good surrounds you. That consistency compounds into stronger relationships, stronger character, and stronger connection to life itself. The truth is, people often wait too long to express gratitude. They wait until someone is gone, until the chance is lost, and then they wish they had spoken sooner. This practice prevents that regret. By sending one message of gratitude each morning, you eliminate the chance of leaving important words unsaid. You never know how long you or someone else will be here. Gratitude spoken today is always better than gratitude left unsaid tomorrow. This act also teaches courage. For some, expressing gratitude feels uncomfortable. It feels vulnerable. They worry about how the message will be received. But vulnerability builds strength. Each time you push past that discomfort, you grow brave. You realize that people respond warmly to genuine appreciation. You realize that fear of judgment is often unfounded, and the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Gratitude then becomes not only natural but enjoyable. Think about the effect on your own emotion. The moment you type a message or write a note of thanks, you feel lighter. Your focus shifts from problems to blessings. Your stress softens, your mood lifts. Gratitude has been shown to increase happiness and reduce anxiety, and you don't need a grand gesture. Just a simple acknowledgement sent early in the day can create this emotional shift. It reminds you of what is good, and that reminder gives you the energy to face whatever challenges lie ahead. Gratitude also builds resilience in relationships during difficult times. Disagreements and struggles are natural in human connection. But when gratitude is practiced regularly, it cushions those moments. If someone knows you value them, they can handle correction or conflict more gracefully. Gratitude creates goodwill, and goodwill helps relationships survive storms. Without gratitude, even small conflicts can destroy trust. With gratitude, even large conflicts can be overcome. This practice is not about perfection. Some days your message may be brief. Some days you may struggle to find the right words. That is fine. What matters is the consistency and sincerity. A single sentence of genuine gratitude can be more powerful than a long message written without heart. People know when words are real. They know when you mean it. Sincerity is the key. In time, this daily act will also change how people see you. They will begin to view you as someone thoughtful, kind, and reliable. They will look forward to hearing from you. They will trust your words more, because they know you notice the good in others. That reputation is worth more than money. It is the foundation of influence. Influence is not built by demanding attention, but by giving it. Gratitude gives attention in a way that is meaningful and lasting. Start simple. Choose one person who has impacted you. Send them a message this morning. It doesn't have to be long. Just write, "I appreciate you for what you did for me," or "Thank you for being there." Tomorrow choose another. The next day, another. As days turn into weeks, this becomes a habit. Soon you'll notice your life feels richer, your relationship stronger, your perspective clearer. You'll notice that your mornings no longer begin with stress, but with appreciation. That shift alone is worth the effort. If you commit to this practice, you will build something rare. Most people wake up thinking only of themselves, their problems, their tasks, their stress. You will wake up thinking of someone else, and that unselfish act will set you apart. It will make you a source of encouragement in a world that desperately needs it. And in giving encouragement, you will also strengthen your own heart. Gratitude is always a two-way gift. The person receiving it feels valued, and the person giving it feels fulfilled. Tomorrow morning, send one message of gratitude to someone who matters. Don't overthink it. Don't delay it. Just do it. Because gratitude not expressed is gratitude wasted. And when you build your days on gratitude, you build a life filled with stronger relationships, deeper meaning, and lasting joy. Chapter 6. Stand outside and breathe the fresh morning air deeply. There is something powerful about stepping outside in the early morning when the world is still quiet and untouched. The air is different at this time. It feels cleaner, cooler, and lighter when you stand outside and breathe deeply. You are not just filling your lungs with oxygen, you are setting a tone for the entire day. It reminds you that life is bigger than your problems, that there is stillness available if you choose to seek it, and that your body and mind work best when you start by giving them fresh energy. Too many people overlook this simple practice. They wake up and immediately grab their phone, stare into a screen, and fill their head with noise before they've even taken a single full breath. But if you choose to step outside and connect with the morning air, you are reminding yourself of your own humanity before the world tries to rush you into its chaos. The act of breathing deeply in the morning brings clarity. Your body depends on oxygen for every process, thinking, moving, digesting, focusing. Yet most people go through life with shallow, hurried breaths, never realizing how much energy they're leaving unused. When you step into the morning air and deliberately breathe in deeply, you are feeding your cells, calming your nervous system, and telling your brain it is safe to focus. That one act makes you sharper, calmer, and stronger. You feel awake not only because you've risen early, but because you've given your body the fuel it truly needs. Standing outside at this hour also connects you to the rhythm of nature. The sky is still dim, the birds are beginning to stir, the streets are silent, and the world feels as if it is offering you a head start. There is no rush, no crowd, no noise. It is you and the air. That stillness clears your mind. You realize how often you are bombarded during the day with demands, messages, and pressures. But here, in these few minutes, you are free from all of it. You can hear your own thoughts. You can reflect without interruption. This is the mental space where good decisions are made. This is where you can remember what matters before distractions try to convince you otherwise. There is also a psychological shift that happens when you go outside early. It takes you out of the small box of your bedroom or office and reminds you that the world is wider. Problems that seemed overwhelming inside often shrink when you stand beneath the sky. Worries feel less permanent when you are reminded that life continues beyond your immediate concern. Breathing the morning air makes you realize that you are not trapped, that you have choices, that you can move forward. This sense of expansion is crucial for anyone who feels stuck. You cannot think clearly about your future if you never give yourself space to breathe. This practice is also a way of caring for your body. Modern life keeps people indoors for hours, sitting in front of screens, surrounded by artificial air, disconnected from natural light. That environment drains energy without people realizing why. By stepping outside each morning, you correct that imbalance. The fresh air resets your body, the natural light signals your brain to wake up fully and regulate your energy. These small signals have a big effect on mood and productivity throughout the day. Instead of dragging yourself through tasks half awake, you feel alert and ready. Instead of being reactive, you feel centered. Breathing deeply outdoors also has an emotional benefit. It slows you down in a world that constantly pushes you to speed up. A few slow, intentional breaths remind you that you don't need to rush into the day, panicked or stressed. You can begin with calmness and strength. This matters because the way you start your morning often sets the tone for everything that follows. If you start rushed and anxious, you carry that energy into every conversation and decision. But if you start calm and grounded, you carry peace and focus instead. You control the atmosphere of your day rather than letting it control you. Think of the difference between two mornings. One person wakes up, stays inside, scrolls through messages, and immediately feels overwhelmed. They carry that tension into their work and their relationships. Another person wakes up, steps outside, breathes deeply, and spends a few moments simply existing in the fresh air. They begin the day lighter, more focused, more ready. Over time, the difference becomes enormous. One person burns out, the other builds resilience. One feels drained by life, the other feels strengthened by it. All from a simple act of standing outside and breathing deeply. This practice also builds gratitude. When you breathe in the morning air, you are reminded that life is still giving you another day. You did not have to earn this breath, it was given to you freely. That realization makes you less likely to waste the hours ahead. You start with appreciation instead of entitlement. You recognize the value of being alive, and that recognition influences your choices. You want to use the day well. You want to honor the gift of time by not wasting it on trivial things. Gratitude creates responsibility, and responsibility creates progress. For many, the early hours are the only time they can experience silence. Once the day begins, noise fills every corner. Phones ring, people talk, responsibilities pull you in different directions. But in those quiet moments outside, the silence restores you. Breathing deeply in that silence makes you realize how much peace you are capable of creating for yourself. You don't need to wait for a vacation or escape to feel calm. You can create it daily by stepping outside and reconnecting with your own breath. That realization is empowering because it shows you that peace is a choice, not a condition. Breathing deeply also helps you release what you don't need. Each exhale can be a moment of letting go, of tension, of regret, of yesterday's weight. You don't have to carry everything into the new day. Each time you breathe out, you are emptying space for something better. This physical act of exhaling trains your mind to release negativity instead of holding it. Over time, you become lighter, not because life is easier, but because you've learned how to release what is unnecessary. That is freedom many people never discover. Some may think this practice is too simple to make a difference, but simplicity is often where the most powerful habits are found. The problem is not that life is too complex, it is that people ignore the basics. Your body needs oxygen, your mind needs stillness, your spirit needs gratitude. All of these are found in one act, standing outside and breathing the fresh morning air deeply.
The simplicity is the strength. It means you can do it anywhere, every day, without excuse, and small actions done consistently are what transform a life. Imagine practicing this every day for a year. Each morning, before rushing into tasks, you step outside, breathe deeply and center yourself. That is 365 mornings of clarity, gratitude, and strength. That is 365 days begun with intention, instead of reaction. That consistency compounds. It shapes your identity. You become someone who values calm, someone who makes space to think, someone who starts strong. That identity carries into everything else you do. This habit also prepares you for challenges. When you've practiced calm breathing every morning, you can return to it during stressful situations. You train your body to know what calm feels like, so when stress arises, you can recreate it. Instead of panicking, you breathe. Instead of losing focus, you ground yourself. That training is invaluable. Challenges will come. Stress will come. But with this habit, you have a tool to face them with strength. There is also joy in the small details you begin to notice when you step outside in the early morning. The sound of a bird. The feeling of cool air on your skin. The changing colors of the sky. These small details remind you that life is not only about big achievements, but also about simple moments of presence. Appreciating these details nourishes your spirit. It makes life feel fuller, not because you've added more, but because you've noticed what is already there. Tomorrow morning, instead of rushing into noise, step outside. Take in the silence, feel the coolness of the air. Inhale slowly and let the oxygen wake your body. Exhale and release the tension you don't need. Repeat this until your mind feels clear and your body feels ready. Let this be the way you enter the day. Not through distraction, but through presence. Not through stress, but through clarity. This one act, done consistently, can give you the strength to face each day with calm, focus, and gratitude. And when you master the beginning of your day, you set the foundation to master the rest of your life.
Chapter 7. Remind yourself of your biggest reason to keep going. Every day brings its share of difficulty, and there are mornings when getting out of bed feels heavier than usual. There are days when you question whether all the effort is worth it, when the challenges in front of you seem endless, and the results you are chasing feel too far away. In those moments, the single most powerful thing you can do is to remind yourself of your biggest reason to keep going. Without a reason, even small tasks feel like a burden. With a reason, even the hardest obstacles can be faced. Human beings can endure more than they ever thought possible when they have a purpose that matters to them. Your reason is not something you borrow from others, and it is not something shallow. It is deeply personal. It could be your family, a dream you've carried for years, a promise you made to yourself, or a standard of life you refuse to accept until it is achieved. The reason must be strong enough to carry you through fatigue, doubt, and disappointment. When you remind yourself of it every morning, you anchor your actions in meaning. Instead of living aimlessly, you are driven by something that matters more than your excuses. Too often, people forget their reason. They start with passion, but lose sight of it in the grind of daily life. They get distracted by comfort, by routine, by other people's opinions. Without a reminder, the reason fades into the background. That is why consciously bringing it to the front of your mind each morning is so important. It reignites the fire. It tells you why you must not quit. It makes you remember that the effort is not just about today's tasks. It is about building something bigger than today. Think of a runner in the middle of a marathon. Their body screams at them to stop. Every step feels heavier, and the finish line seems impossible. If they think only about the pain in that moment, they will quit. But if they think about why they started, perhaps to prove something to themselves or to honor someone they love, they find the strength to continue. That shift in focus is what carries them forward. Life works the same way. The pain, the setbacks, and the fatigue are temporary. The reason is permanent, and it is stronger if you keep it close to your heart. When you remind yourself of your reason to keep going, you create clarity. Life is full of distractions that pull you in 100 directions. Social media, other people's expectations, daily stress, all of these can make you forget what truly matters.
But when you start the day by focusing on your reason, you see through the noise. You no longer waste time on things that don't align with your purpose. You make choices based on whether they bring you closer or pull you away from your reason. That clarity alone can transform your decisions and save you years of wasted effort. Your reason also gives you resilience. Every person encounters failure. Projects collapse. People disappoint you. Opportunities vanish. Plans don't work. If you don't have a reason, failure convinces you to stop. But if you do, failure becomes temporary. You get back up, not because the fall didn't hurt, but because your reason is more important than the pain. That resilience is what separates those who succeed from those who surrender. Success is not about never falling. It is about always remembering why you must rise. It is important that your reason is deeply emotional. Logic alone will not push you through hard times. You need something that touches your heart, something that makes you feel, something that stirs you at the core. If your reason is only intellectual, it will not hold you when life gets dark. But if it is tied to your values, your loved ones, or your deepest vision for your future, it becomes unshakable. That emotional connection is what gives you the power to keep going when nothing else makes sense. This is why you should take time each morning to reflect on it, say it out loud, write it down, picture it clearly, feel it as if it were already real. If your reason is your family, imagine their faces. If your reason is your dream, imagine living it. This mental rehearsal strengthens your commitment. You are no longer just going through the motions of discipline. You are acting with passion because you know why you are doing it. The difference between someone who remembers their reason and someone who doesn't is the difference between discipline fueled by inspiration and discipline fueled by willpower alone. Inspiration lasts longer. Reminding yourself of your reason also protects you from envy and comparison. When you scroll through what others are doing, you can feel discouraged. You might think you are behind or not good enough. But your reason grounds you. You realize that your journey is not theirs. Your reason is unique, and your path is yours. That shift removes the pressure to measure yourself against others. You focus on progress, not comparison. You focus on your finish line, not theirs. This gives you peace and keeps you steady, even when the world around you seems to be moving at a different pace. There will be mornings when you wake up tired, when the temptation to quit is strong. On those mornings, your reason is your reminder that quitting is not an option. It is the voice that says, you cannot stop here. Too much is at stake. Too much has been invested. Too much depends on you moving forward. That voice silences excuses. It gives you the strength to take the next step, even if it is small, even if it is slow. Because forward is always better than stopping, and forward is what your reason demands. The beauty of this practice is that it compounds. Every day you remind yourself, your reason becomes stronger in your mind. It is no longer a vague idea, it is a living force that guides you. Over weeks, you notice yourself acting with more conviction. Over months, you notice you are less shaken by obstacles. Over years, you look back and realize that this one daily habit built the foundation of your resilience. You did not survive by accident. You survived because your reason pulled you through. Ask yourself, what is the one thing you want so deeply that giving up would be a betrayal to yourself? That answer is your reason. Carry it with you. Protect it. Feed it. Use it every morning to remind yourself that your life is bigger than any single problem you face. And when the voice of doubt appears, when the temptation to stop whispers in your ear, answer with the reason you wrote, the reason you repeat, the reason you live for. That is how you stay in the fight when everything in you wants to give up. No one else can give you this reason. People can inspire you, but they cannot hand you purpose. It is something you must decide for yourself. And once you find it, hold on to it as if your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Without it, you drift. With it, you endure. With it, you rise after every fall. With it, you keep going when everyone else has stopped. And that is the difference between living a life of regret and living a life of fulfillment. Tomorrow morning, take a quiet moment and ask yourself why you are still in the fight. Don't accept a shallow answer. Search until you find the reason that brings emotion to your chest, then remind yourself of it with everything you have. Speak it, feel it, and carry it into your day. Let it be the fire that pushes you forward when the path gets hard, because life will test you. But as long as your reason burns bright, you will never run out of strength to keep going.
Chapter 8. Choose one habit to improve and practice it right now. When the early morning hours arrive, you are given a window of clarity where distractions are low and your mind is fresh. That is the perfect moment to choose one habit you want to improve and start practicing it right away. Habits are the building blocks of your future. They are the repeated actions that, when stacked over time, determine whether you succeed or remain stuck. Too many people complicate their lives by trying to change too much at once, chasing dozens of improvements but committing to none. The smarter approach is to focus on one habit, commit to it fully, and practice it with consistency until it becomes automatic. The reason this is so powerful is that one improved habit often triggers improvements in other areas. For example, if you choose to practice waking up without hitting the snooze button, that one habit improves your discipline, increases your available time, and sets a stronger tone for your day. If you choose to practice drinking water first thing in the morning, that habit improves your energy, your focus, and your health. One decision, repeated daily, creates a ripple effect. That is why the early hours are best spent deciding which habit deserves your attention and then putting it into action immediately. People often underestimate how habits shape their identity. You don't just do habits, you become them. If you practice the habit of reading every morning, you become a reader. If you practice the habit of exercising, you become someone who prioritizes health. If you practice the habit of saving money, you become disciplined with finances. Your identity grows out of your repeated action. This is why it is not enough to think about who you want to be. You must act like that person now by practicing the habits that align with that identity. Choosing one habit to improve each morning also simplifies the overwhelm of self-improvement. When you think about all the changes you want to make in life, it can feel impossible. You may want to improve your health, your finances, your mindset, your relationships, your productivity, and more. Thinking about all of them at once is paralyzing. But if you narrow your focus and say, "Today, I will improve this one habit," suddenly the task becomes clear. It is not about fixing everything at once. It is about building small, solid victories that add up to major transformation over time. The most important part of this practice is action. Too many people get stuck in planning. They write lists of habits to build. They dream about the changes, but they never start. By deciding in the morning to practice a single habit right away, you break that cycle. You remove hesitation. You don't just think about change, you embody it. That shift from thought to action is what creates momentum. Once you act, even in a small way, you prove to yourself that you can improve. That proof builds confidence, and confidence builds consistency. For example, imagine you choose to improve your posture. You stand up straight, take a deep breath, and hold yourself with confidence for a few minutes. That simple habit changes how you feel about yourself and how others see you. Or imagine you choose to improve your focus. You put your phone away for 30 minutes and give your full attention to one task. That habit builds productivity and strengthens your ability to concentrate. These may feel small in the moment, but practiced daily, they alter the course of your life. There is also a psychological advantage to choosing one habit instead of many. The human brain has limited willpower each day. If you try to overhaul everything at once, you burn out quickly and return to old routines. But if you pick one specific action, your mind can handle it. It becomes manageable. You create a clear target for your willpower instead of scattering it. Over time, that one habit becomes automatic, freeing up energy to tackle the next one. This is how lasting growth is built, not through bursts of effort, but through steady, focused consistency. Practicing a habit immediately in the morning also removes the trap of delay. If you say, "I'll improve this habit later today," chances are high that life will get in the way. Urgent tasks, unexpected problems, and fatigue will steal your focus. But when you do it right away, before the world interferes, you guarantee progress. Even if the rest of the day falls apart, you've already taken a meaningful step forward. That early victory sets the tone for the hours ahead and gives you a sense of accomplishment that carries into everything else you do.
This practice is not about perfection. You will not master a habit in a single morning. Improvement comes from repetition, not from flawless performance. The key is to begin and to continue. If you stumble, return the next morning and practice again. Every day you recommit, you are training your mind to value growth over comfort. You are teaching yourself that progress matters more than perfection. That attitude builds resilience, which is the true foundation of self-improvement. Over time, these small, daily habit improvements accumulate into something extraordinary. Imagine choosing one habit to improve each week. That's 52 habits strengthened in a single year. Even if half of them stick permanently, your life would be unrecognizable compared to where you started. You would be healthier, more disciplined, more focused, and more confident, all because you made the simple choice to improve one habit at a time in the early morning hours. This practice also reinforces responsibility. You are no longer blaming circumstances for your lack of progress. You are taking ownership by saying, "I can improve something right now." That mindset is empowering because it puts control back in your hand. No matter what else is happening in your life, you can always choose one habit to strengthen today. That choice gives you freedom because you are no longer waiting for perfect conditions. You are acting with what you have, where you are in this very moment. Another powerful benefit is the sense of identity pride you develop. Each time you practice a habit, you reinforce the story you tell yourself about who you are. You stop seeing yourself as someone who wishes for change and start seeing yourself as someone who creates it. That internal shift is critical because people act in line with the stories they believe about themselves. If you believe you are weak, you will act weak. If you believe you are disciplined, you will act disciplined. Each habit you practice tells your brain, "This is who I am now." Consider how this might play out in real life. A person decides to improve the habit of reading instead of wasting time on their phone. They commit to reading 10 pages every morning. At first it feels small, almost insignificant. But weeks later, they've read several books. Their thinking has expanded, their vocabulary has grown, and their confidence has improved. That habit influences their conversations, their career, and their self-image. Or imagine someone chooses to improve their financial habits by tracking expenses daily. Over time, they save money, reduce stress, and build freedom. What seemed small at the start becomes life-changing over time. The truth is, your future is not shaped by occasional big events, but by consistent daily action. By choosing one habit to improve every morning, you are shaping that future deliberately. You are building it step by step, action by action, day after day. Most people waste mornings by drifting into the day without purpose. You will be different. You will use those hours to set your life in motion, with intention. That difference will separate you from the average and put you on the path to excellence. Tomorrow morning, when you rise early, don't overcomplicate it. Pick one habit that matters to you. It could be health-related, like stretching or drinking water. It could be personal, like journaling or reading. It could be professional, like focusing on your most important work. Whatever it is, decide and practice it immediately. Do not wait until later. Do not delay. Take action while the world is still asleep. That one decision, repeated daily, will create a momentum that nothing can stop. By practicing this consistently, you will prove to yourself that improvement is always possible. You will build discipline, confidence, and progress, not in theory but in practice. And when you look back after months of doing this, you will see how much your life has changed. It will not have changed by accident. It will have changed because you made the choice to strengthen one habit at a time. And that choice is available to you every single morning you wake up between 3 and 5.
Chapter 9. Picture the life you want, and take one step today. Every person carries an image of the life they truly want. It might be clear or it might be blurry, but somewhere inside you know there is a version of yourself you have not yet reached. The problem is that most people only think about it occasionally. They dream when they feel inspired. They talk about it when they are frustrated, but they rarely sit down each day and picture it vividly. They rarely give themselves permission to see it clearly in their minds. And because they don't see it often, they don't believe in it enough to act on it. That is why beginning your day by picturing the life you want, and then immediately taking one step toward it is so powerful.
You are not leaving your vision to chance. You are training your mind to focus on it and backing that focus with action. When you picture the life you want, don't just think of vague ideas. Go into detail. See where you are living. Imagine the way you wake up, the work you do, the people around you, the way you carry yourself. Feel the emotions of that life. Ask yourself how confidence feels in your body, how freedom feels in your choices, how peace feels in your mind. The more real you make it in your imagination, the more possible it becomes in your reality. Human psychology responds strongly to vision. If your mind can see it clearly, your body can start moving toward it. If your mind never pictures it, your body has no direction. But vision without action is useless. That is where most people fail. They dream, they imagine, they talk about what they want, but they don't act on it. And after years of dreaming without action, they stop believing it is possible. That is why the second part of this practice is essential. After you picture the life you want, you must take one step toward it today. It doesn't have to be a big step, it just has to be real. If your vision is health, your step might be a workout or a healthy meal. If your vision is financial freedom, your step might be saving money, creating a plan, or working on a new skill. If your vision is confidence, your step might be speaking up in a meeting, or having a difficult conversation. The step proves to yourself that you are serious. The act of linking vision to action is where transformation happens. One without the other is incomplete. Vision alone is fantasy. Action alone is blind movement. But vision plus action is momentum. It means you know where you are going, and you are already moving. That combination is what separates those who talk about change from those who create it. And when you do this daily, the gap between your current life and the life you want begins to close. Slowly, steadily, consistently, you move closer. Picture a person who wants a better career. Each morning, they imagine themselves in the position they desire, speaking confidently, leading effectively, being respected. Then they take one step that day, whether it's learning a new skill, applying for opportunities, or networking with purpose. Over months, those steps add up. Another person wants to improve their health. They picture themselves strong, energized, and active. Then they take one step daily, whether it's exercising, preparing better meals, or sleeping on time. Over months, the vision takes shape. The power is not in occasional effort, but in consistent vision-backed action. There is also an emotional strength that comes from this practice. Life often feels heavy when you forget what you are working toward. Days blur together, tasks feel meaningless, and motivation fades. But when you start by picturing the life you want, you inject meaning back into the day. You remind yourself why effort matters. You remind yourself that you are building something bigger than this moment. That emotional reminder makes it easier to push through challenges. It's not just about finishing tasks, it's about moving closer to the life you want. The step you take each day does not need to impress anyone else. It only needs to move you forward. Too many people quit because they think small steps don't matter. They want dramatic progress. But small steps done consistently create dramatic results over time. If you save a little money every day, it grows. If you read a few pages daily, your knowledge expands. If you improve one skill steadily, it compounds into mastery. The life you want is not built overnight, it is built brick by brick, and today's step is one brick in that foundation. Another important part of this practice is honesty. When you picture the life you want, don't water it down to make it seem realistic. Be honest about what you truly desire, even if it feels far away. Most people lower their vision because they don't believe they can reach it. They settle for less in their mind before life even tests. But lowering your vision weakens your motivation. If the life you picture doesn't excite you, you won't take steps toward it. Dare to picture the life you truly want, not the life you think others will approve of, not the life you think is safe. Then take a step today, even if it is small, that aligns with that honest vision. The discipline of doing this every morning also trains your mind to focus forward. Many people wake up and immediately replay yesterday's failures or today's worry. They carry the weight of the past and the anxiety of the future into the present. But when you picture the life you want, you replace worry with direction. You tell your mind, this is where I'm going, and when you act on it, you tell your body, this is how I'm getting. That alignment between thought and action gives you strength that scattered focus can never provide. Consider how different life looks for two people after 5 years. One wakes up each day without vision, drifts into tasks, and takes no deliberate steps toward a goal. They end up in the same place, maybe even worse. The other begins each day with vision, takes one step and repeats that process daily. After 5 years, the difference is enormous. One has built nothing. The other has built a life closer to their dream. The difference is not talent or luck. It is the habit of vision, plus action. There will be days when picturing the life you want feels painful, because the gap between where you are and where you want to be feels too wide. Those are the most important days to practice. If you avoid the vision because it hurts, you are choosing to stay where you are. But if you face it, if you keep picturing it and keep taking steps, you will close that gap. Pain is part of the process, but it is temporary. What is permanent is the life you create if you stay consistent. This practice also guards you against distraction. The world constantly tries to pull you into goals that are not yours, advertisements telling you what to buy, peers pressuring you into what to pursue, social media showing you what to envy. If you don't know the life you want, you will chase what others want for you. But if you picture your own life every morning, you strengthen your focus. You remember what truly matters to you, and when you act on it daily, you make steady progress regardless of outside noise. Each morning is a chance to reset. No matter how yesterday went, today you can picture the life you want again, and take another step. You don't need to wait for a new year, a perfect plan, or a lucky break. You can begin today. One vision, one step. That is how change begins. If you repeat that enough times, you will look back and realize you built the life you once only imagined. So tomorrow, when you wake between 3 and 5, don't let the hours pass without direction. Sit still for a moment, and picture clearly the life you want. Let it feel real. Then stand up and do something, however small, that moves you toward it. That combination of vision and action will give meaning to your mornings and momentum to your life. And if you stay faithful to this habit, you will not only picture the life you want, you will live.
Chapter 10. Promise yourself you will not quit when it gets hard. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful has faced moments when quitting looked easier than continuing. It is in those moments where character is tested, where you discover whether you are truly committed or only interested. Making a promise to yourself that you will not quit when it gets hard is one of the most important decisions you can ever make, because life will inevitably test you. There will be challenges that seem bigger than your strength, failures that bruise your confidence, and setbacks that tempt you to walk away. If you haven't made the promise, you will likely give in. If you have, you will endure. And endurance is the foundation of success. When you make this promise, you are telling yourself that difficulty will not dictate your future. Most people quit, not because they are incapable, but because they decide the struggle isn't worth it. They underestimate their resilience. They see obstacles as signals to stop rather than opportunities to grow. But once you have made a firm promise that you will not quit, you reframe hardship. It becomes proof of your seriousness. It becomes training for your strength. It becomes part of the path rather than the end of it. That shift in mindset is what allows you to keep moving when others stop. The truth is, life will never hand you achievement on easy terms. Every goal worth pursuing comes with resistance. When you try to build discipline, laziness will fight back. When you pursue health, cravings and fatigue will test you. When you chase financial freedom, setbacks and losses will discourage you. When you work on relationship, misunderstanding and conflict will arise. None of these are signs that you should quit. They are signs that you are on the right track. The presence of resistance is confirmation that you are moving into territory that requires growth. Promising yourself you won't quit gives you the determination to push through that resistance instead of running from it. This promise is not made to the world. It is made to yourself. That makes it even more powerful, because self-promises shape identity.
When you break a promise to yourself, you weaken your own trust. You teach your mind that your word cannot be counted on. But when you keep a promise to yourself, especially when it is hard, you build trust. You prove that your word matters, even privately. That kind of self-trust creates confidence, unlike anything else. It makes you believe in your own strength, because you've seen yourself keep going when it would have been easier to stop. Quitting often looks appealing in the moment because it offers immediate relief. You tell yourself, if I stop, the pressure goes away. If I stop, I don't have to feel this discomfort. And that's true, but what also goes away is the chance to grow, the chance to win, the chance to prove yourself. What replaces discomfort is regret, and regret lasts far longer than struggle. Struggle is temporary. Regret lingers for years. That is why the promise to not quit is critical. It reminds you that quitting is not an escape, it is a trade. And the trade is never worth it. Making this promise also means preparing for the reality of hardship before it comes. You cannot wait until you are overwhelmed to decide whether you will endure. In the heat of difficulty, emotions will try to control you. If you haven't already decided, you will convince yourself quitting is logical. But if the decision is made beforehand, if you've promised yourself you will not quit, then the only question left is how to keep going. Not whether you will. That clarity saves you from wavering when your energy is low. It gives you stability when chaos surrounds you. There is power in remembering why you started. When things get hard, your mind often focuses only on the pain of the moment, but pain is not the full picture. Beyond the pain is the reason you began, the vision you had, the goal you wanted, the change you sought. Reconnecting with that reason strengthens your resolve. You realize that the struggle is part of the price for what you want, and you have already decided the price is worth paying. Promising yourself not to quit keeps your eyes on the outcome, rather than the obstacle. This promise also builds resilience over time. The first time you keep going when it's hard, it feels almost impossible. The second time, it feels slightly easier. Each time you endure, you prove to yourself that you can survive discomfort. That proof builds into strength. Eventually what once felt unbearable becomes normal. You adapt. You grow tougher. This growth cannot be gained any other way. It only comes through refusing to quit when things get difficult. Difficulty is the training ground of resilience, and resilience is what carries you to goals that most people never reach. Think about people who have built lives of success, strength, or mastery. They are not people who never struggled, they are people who struggled and refused to quit. Behind every victory is a story of resistance. Behind every breakthrough is a history of setbacks. The difference between those who made it and those who didn't is not talent, not luck, not resources. It is the promise they made to themselves, not to give up, no matter how hard it got. That is the one trait that separates those who succeed from those who fade away. When you make this promise, it becomes a source of strength, even outside of your goals. It affects how you face life as a whole. Challenges in relationships, work, or health no longer feel like reasons to collapse. They feel like opportunities to apply the same commitment. You become someone others can rely on because you've trained yourself not to fold when pressure comes. People respect those who keep moving forward when most would stop. They trust them, they look to them, they follow them. And it all begins with the personal promise you make in private. Keeping this promise requires more than stubbornness. It requires strategy. You must learn how to adjust when things aren't working. Refusing to quit does not mean repeating the same mistakes endlessly. It means staying committed to the destination, even if the route must change. If one method fails, you try another. If one door closes, you look for another entry. The key is that you do not abandon the journey. This flexibility within commitment is how progress is made. Too many people confuse quitting with adjusting. Quitting ends the pursuit entirely. Adjusting keeps the pursuit alive. The promise you make ensures you adjust rather than abandon. There will be days when keeping this promise feels like carrying a heavy load uphill. You will question your strength. You will doubt your ability. But those are the days where your character is being forged. Every step you take under pressure is shaping you into someone who can handle greater responsibility and greater success. Hardship is not just an obstacle, it is a builder of capacity. By not quitting, you expand what you are capable of. You turn into someone stronger than the person who started. That transformation is as valuable as the goal itself. It is also important to recognize that this promise is not about never resting. Rest and quitting are not the same. Rest and quitting are not the same. Rest is strategic. It recharges you so you can continue. Quitting is surrender. It ends the pursuit entirely. Knowing the difference is critical. Sometimes the best way to honor your promise is to pause, recover, and then return stronger. Rest is part of endurance. Quitting is the absence of it. As long as you keep the promise not to quit, rest becomes a tool, not an escape. The promise you make to yourself will be tested, not once, but many times. Each new level of growth brings new challenges. Each new pursuit brings new obstacles. But each time you choose not to quit, you reinforce the promise. It becomes part of who you are. Eventually you no longer need to remind yourself. It is simply your identity. You are someone who doesn't give up when it gets hard. That identity is one of the most powerful assets you can carry into any area of life. At the end of your journey, when you look back, what will matter most is not how easy life was, but how faithful you were to the promise you made. Success will feel sweeter because you know it came through struggle. Strength will feel deeper because you know it was built through resistance. And pride will be real because you know you could have quit, but you didn't. That is the reward of the promise. So make it now. Promise yourself that you will not quit when it gets hard. Say it and mean it. Write it down if you need to. Remind yourself daily that quitting is not an option. And when the hard times come, and they surely will, hold to that promise as if your future depends on it, because it does. The future belongs to those who endure. The future belongs to those who keep moving forward. The future belongs to those who refuse to quit. And if you make and keep this promise, that future will belong to you.